Lee, how you doing, man? Chuck Palumbo here. First and foremost, thank you for reaching out. You know, I tell everybody this. Sometimes I just can't believe how fortunate I am to have fans, number one, who are genuinely interested in what I've done in my career, number two. So, yeah, thank you very much again. I appreciate it from the bottom of my heart. So, yeah, some of your questions, good questions, man. WCW, by far, was my favorite time in the business, especially coming in as a rookie. I mean, you know, I was never a big wrestling fan growing up, but I knew who Hulk Hogan was, and I knew who Macho Man Randy Savage was, and they were both in the locker room, which was amazing at the time. Yeah, great times with, you know, learning from those guys, great times with my buddies from the power plant who came up from scratch, pretty much off the street. So yeah, great time to be in the industry. Yeah, you know, people say it was the downfall of WCW, but at the same time, something happened that had never happened in the past. One company bought out another company. It was huge at the time, unheard of. So it was a good time to be in the business and witness that transaction. Worst moment there, I gotta be honest with you, the worst moment, I guess, was when it ended. Yeah, I guess maybe I was worried about a job a bit. I wanted to continue with my career. I was just getting started. I was just getting a real good push down in WCW. I was going over to WWF. I didn't know what was going to happen over there. And as most of us know, when you're a WCW talent and you go over to WWF or WWE now, it's not always an easy transition, right? But anyway, it all worked out. I had a great time. The power plant, yeah, it was tough. You know, what was tough about it was just the continuous beating on the body, right? All the bumps, you know, when I say bumps, you know, back bumps and all the different falls. Thousands of push-ups, squats, just, you know, literally just pushing you to, you know, the end. It was kind of like a weeding out process. Was the power plant really legit? I mean, did they really think that all these guys were going to come down here and be wrestlers? No. It was a bit of a money-making scheme, too. I mean, if you try out 30 guys a month for a number of months and you drive 99% of them out of there, you know, you get that $300 per tryout. So, you know, you tell me what you think. Anyway, still a great experience. For me, it was the only way to break into the business. I didn't have any family members in the business. I didn't know anything about the business. I didn't know anybody who had ever wrestled in my life. I knew nothing about it. Absolutely nothing. So that was my only way of getting in the business. And like I've told this story before, I saw the ad on television while I was in college playing basketball. I saw an ad for the power plant. And that's how it happened. I called up. I got a tryout date. I made it through the tryout. I want to say there was 28 to 30 of us. I think I was the only guy who made it that weekend. Yeah, so it was a weeding out process. Unfortunately, we didn't learn a lot about psychology. And I get it. I know you have to learn that in the ring in front of a crowd. And that happened over time. For us guys at the power plant like myself, who was actually getting a push and on TV, I had to learn this on TV, which was challenging because when you're wrestling a 5-minute match, there's really not, you know, much psychology involved. You're not really telling much of a story with TV matches. So that took time over house shows. I actually got more of that down as I started working in WWF and then later WWE. But anyway, no bad times in WCW. It was unfortunate it ended. Was it too good to be true? Sometimes I think it was, but it was a great time, the best time I had in the industry. One good story I do have about WCW and the power plant would be Paul Orndorff. So Jody Hamilton, the original assassin, he was our original trainer. He ran the power plant, and then he got fired. Paul Orndorff took over, and you know everybody knows Paul was crazy, wild guy. Learned a lot from him. Could be a solid guy sometimes, but crazy and weird and wild at other times. Bipolar, probably yes. But you know, hey, everybody's got their thing, man. Anyway, we hadn't been on TV yet. I had heard that Jimmy Hart, who was running the WCW Saturday Night TV, he was thinking about actually having us on the Saturday Night show. You probably remember that show. That was one of my favorite shows, actually. Simple wrestling show. Anyway, Paul stepped in and said, hey, Chuck, I can get you on TV. This is, you know, I had been training at the power plant for, 6 or 7 months. I had already been to Japan, I think. for New Japan. I'd just come back, I think. Anyway, Paul said, hey, I can get you on TV, I think. Would you do me some favors? You know, typical old school wrestler, always trying to work it, always trying to get something out of it. He knew I had restored cars prior to you know, getting into wrestling. That was my that was like a side job for me. I worked in the auto body business, restoration business, motorcycles, all that stuff. Anyway, so he had an old Toyota Land Cruiser he was restoring, and he wanted me to do some work for, you know, some work on it. Specifically that day was going to be the brakes. So he brings his Toyota Land Cruiser, which was like a 1970. He brings it down to the power plant. As we're training in the power plant, he calls me out. He's got the parts and the tools. He's got me outside in the parking lot in Atlanta at the power plant doing a brake job on his 1970 Land Cruiser as the rest of the guys are training on inside. And that went on for a few days. And then he would invite me down to the house. Hey, you want to come by and have dinner and stuff? I get down there and he'd have a job for me, doing body work on the Land Cruiser, whatever other jobs, tune-ups, whatever else. He was a character. Yeah. So anyway, rest in peace, Paul. Yeah, crazy guy, character, great experience, learned a lot. As far as going over to WWF and the whole enemy thing, yeah, it was kind of weird in the beginning. They were cold to us, most of them, not all the guys, but most of them were cold, and you know, they thought we were, you know, going to take their spot and this and that. And unfortunately, if we had all worked together, I think the business would have taken a different direction, right? It was a great time to be in the industry. It was the first time wrestling was actually, I don't want to say the first time it was real, but it was a real storyline. Vince actually brought us out. We were coming over to WWF. It could have been capitalized on. So, you know, hey, things work how they work out. But anyway, a little awkward in the beginning. Finally, you know, found my spot and things worked out. I think that's it. I think I answered all your questions. Again, very thankful. I appreciate you reaching out. Tomorrow's the 4th of July. I hope you have a great day with you and your family. And until next time, man, take it easy.